Muchísimas gracias por acompañarnos este sábado por la mañana. Mi nombre es... En nombre de la mesa de directivos, les doy la bienvenida a la segunda conferencia anual de Inspiring Latinas. Muchos de ustedes nos conocen y conocen un poquito de la historia de nosotros, pero sí quisiera tomar tan solo un momento, un instante para decirles por qué estamos aquí, por qué existimos realmente, qué es lo que nos motiva, cuál es nuestra misión. Nuestra misión es clara, es simple, es apoyar y empoderar a mujeres mayores de 50 años para que lleguen, continúen su pasión y que cumplan sus sueños haciéndolos realidad. Esa es nuestra misión. ¿Y por qué existimos? Nosotros existimos porque creemos que empoderar y apoyar a una mujer, empoderamos a la familia, a una comunidad y por ende a una sociedad.
No quiero pagar.
Empoderando a una mujer, empoderamos al mundo entero. ¿De acuerdo? Sí. Esto es nuestra tarea. Inspiring Latinas es una invitación. Más que un logo en un documento, en un papel, es una inspiración que nos lleva y nos llena. No solamente de inspirarnos a nosotros mismos, pero de inspirar a otros. La conferencia, líderes de hoy y del mañana, es una invitación. Es una invitación a continuar desarrollándonos, creciendo, aprendiendo a ser líderes. Porque líderes es equitativo a la palabra, pasión, inspiración. Es un llamado. Es un llamado a una acción. Eso es, líderes de hoy y mañana. Nuestra tarea de hoy día, aquí en la conferencia, es aceptar esta invitación, abrir nuestros brazos, ¿verdad? Nuestra mente, estar presentes y entonces escuchar de otros y aprender. Porque a mis años todavía continúo aprendiendo y siempre buscamos un maestro, un tutor, alguien que nos inspire y que nos dé esta fuerza para continuar día a día. Y precisamente esta mañana tenemos a alguien que con su trabajo, con su aportación, con su entrega a la comunidad y al mundo entero, realmente, él ha logrado mucho, que es de admirarse, porque él ha amplificado su presencia en muchos ámbitos, tanto aquí nacional como global. Su nombre es Martín Cabrera Jr. Quiero mencionarles, porque él es el fundador y el CEO de Cabrera, que hace los markets, pero eso lo ha llevado a diferentes sectores, tanto nacional, global, internacional, todo lo que significa finanzas y la banca que para muchos de nosotros realmente es incomprensible, ¿verdad? Ese nivel de negocios y el saber que tenemos y que contamos dentro de nuestras comunidades con alguien, con un amigo que puede compartir su experiencia. El llamado para él ha sido participar de muchas comisiones, mayor, gran hermano, también con el arzobispo, porque estas comisiones y estos concilios apoyan, ayudan al crecimiento de Chicago, de la nación. Trabajando también como director de la mesa de directivos en City Colleges, es su interés por la juventud, por la educación de ellos, por un mejor futuro y, claro, la formación de futuros líderes. Para nosotros es un honor contar esta mañana con Martín Cabrera. Por favor, déjame un fuerte aplauso.
Buenos días a todos. Un honor estar aquí con ustedes y hablar con Inspiring Latinas, ayudar lo que yo puedo hacer en mis palabras, pero a veces voy a hablar en inglés y es ok, y también en español, pero me pueden preguntar en español. Pero te voy a dar una historia nada más de mi familia. Mi abuelito se cruzó el río en 54, a la espalda de mi tío. De ahí en Arizona se vino a Chicago. Empezaron mariachi también aquí en 54, 55. Y también mi otro abuelito se nació en Oakland, California. Pero en esos tiempos, en los 30, lo echaron todos los mexicanos en los boxcars y lo regresaron a México. Ellos que estaban ciudadanos aquí en los Estados Unidos, porque estaban diciendo lo que están diciendo hoy, que están tomando todos los trabajos. Pero también mi papá estaba aquí en Pilsen muchos años, en casa están, y mi mamá también ayudando en la casa, y mi mamá es un líder para mí, porque ella y mi abuelitas me enseñaron el orgullo de ser una mamá y un líder, pero también para la familia, que todos estamos juntos. Yo nací aquí en Chicago, en la villita, en Claremont primero, entonces a la villita, y fui a Eli Whitney, entonces a Bogan High School. Y yo soy el CEO de Cabrera Markets, y nosotros tenemos nuestros clientes que son del estado de California, Los Ángeles, también aquí en Chicago, y trabajamos con los estados, con los pension funds y también con las diferentes compañías como Walmart y Target para darles becas, $400 millones para que ellos puedan crecer su negocio, y también los estados y las ciudades para construir escuelas y bridges y airports. Pues in high school, we were learning English, but I didn't know anything about stocks or bonds or investments. And my teacher, Mr. Ortiz, asked me, because I play a lot of sports, he's like, I want you to take my economics class. I'm going to teach about finances. And I'm like, Mr. Ortiz, I'm going to go to U of I, I'm going to become an architect. I don't need to take that. So he kind of, when he grabbed me in a headlock, he's like, I want you to take my class. I'm like, okay, I'll take your class. And he asked, he's like, who knows what a stock and a bond is? And I didn't know anything about money or finances, and I was already a senior in high school. And I was like, I'm a stock boy at a 16-plus ladies store. And a bond is something between a man and a woman coming together. And he's like, no, that's not what we're talking about. And we're talking about investments and money. But he explained to us what the stock market was and how we can invest. And I played this game, the stock market game, and we picked a team of our friends to be on our team that we research companies. They gave us $100,000 to invest it in companies. And try to get the socks that go up so that they perform the best. And I didn't know anything. All the girls and the boys on my team, we didn't really know anything. We all grew up in La Vida. We didn't have money to talk about. We didn't even know we were poor out there. But we played the game and we actually ended up winning. And it let us know that it didn't matter that we came from the neighborhood, that we were brown, that we're in the public school system, but that we were able to beat the other folks at some of the Catholic schools and parochial schools there. And it was a real change in my mind, and it's something I really like. So I started getting to it, changing my major and the university I was going to attend. I went to Northern Illinois University. And but I kind of see, just when I saw the world kind of open up on the finance side, that where were all the Latinos there? And when I say Latinos, I mean Latinas as well. It's like there wasn't a whole lot of them. There still isn't, but it's growing. But I ended up going to Northern Illinois and majoring in finance, and then I went to go study in London and taking some classes and working there. And then I came back home to Chicago, and I love the neighborhood. I always love being able to walk somewhere, go get my carnitas and easy access. But we've been blessed as a company. We started off here in Chicago. We have about 9 other offices around the country. And we've probably done about $330 billion deals for states and cities. And on corporations, we've probably done about $400 billion in transactions. But I always think about my father, because he was always fighting in the neighborhood of Pilsen with Teresa and my tia and a lot of others just to get the school Benito Juarez built, but also just for our Latino struggles. And I fight the same way, but it's at a different level. We refer to it as a financial civil rights movement. And to see kind of more Latinos going out there and getting into the business world and being successful. And I kind of look at our community that we're still young, and with all the negative things that go on out there, what Trump may be saying, what people may be saying about Latinos, like, I'm actually, in a way, I'm glad Trump is saying that, because it fires us up as Latinos.
Yeah.
What are we going to do now? What is it that we're going to prove to other people? It makes us work harder. And there's something that you can't really teach your kids. They have to go through it. And even though my kids, I don't want them to go what I went through when I was growing up in the neighborhood, and having guns pointed at us and being shot at just playing basketball. But it's more so that kind of that grit and what you learn and all those tough times. And as Latinas as well, you've got that you're Latina, but you're a woman too. And what I would tell some of the Latinas in my office, it's like sometimes they look at it as 2 strikes, that you got to work twice as hard just to be the same, because the men and then the women, then being Latina too. But that's what all those struggles and all those tears and the setbacks, and it's hard, but it makes you learn too, and you keep that in your heart and in your head too. And there's been a lot of times, even in business, I remember I had to, as a stockbroker, I had to make 450 calls a day, and to complete strangers and ask them to give me $300,000. And most of them would hang up on me, or some would swear at me and tell me to F off or like that. But it was hard. And one day the phone was ringing, and all the other brokers, they weren't picking up the phone. But I thought maybe somebody wanted to place a trade, so I answered the phone. All these stockbrokers, and some guy yelled out, "It's like, you're supposed to be making outgoing phone calls, you prick," on there, or you little spick on there. And growing up in the neighborhood, you're not going to let anybody talk to you like that. So I jumped up. I was like, I'm going to hit this guy. But I had to just think about it. It's like, I'm not in the neighborhood. I'm in an office, and how do I prove to him? And it made me. I get in at 7 o'clock in the morning. I'd stay till 11 o'clock at night. It's like, I'm going to prove to him in business that I can be better than him, no matter what he thinks of me. And so I became the top performer at our branch on there. And I was 23 years old. I was 6 months out of college. And all the widows hated it, because they're like, who's this little kid that's doing better than all of us in the office on there? But it's like, it's our work ethic, and that's what we do. And You know, I'll go and testify in California and Texas and different panels. I was like, it doesn't matter where we're picking lettuce, grapes, stocks, or bonds. Our community is going to work our tail off to make sure we do a great job. And that's what we are, that's who we are. And for Latinas in business, they're growing at a much faster pace on their starting up. But it's good that you're having these gatherings because you need that. And what I tell our Latino community is that we have to be just like the Jewish community, the Judíos. And they help each other out a lot and they do business with each other. And they work with each other, they give back to their donations and scholarships. And as our Latino businesses, and it's hard to change their mentality, but that as they grow their businesses, they have to stay involved in giving back and scholarships and jobs and internships and giving those other younger Latinos that are coming through. And, you know, I'm inspired by just all the younger Latinos that are coming up in the schools as well. There's probably more Latinas going to college and getting degrees now than Latinos.
Right.
But just their hunger and their work ethic. But there's a lot of times that, you know, you're going to have a lot of setbacks and your businesses, you know, might go through difficult times. You go through difficult times at family and at home. But for all of you, it's like even for the women, they're the ones kind of holding our family together. And that's what people learn from. And they see that, they use that as the base, as that's a foundation on there. That's why we all work hard, because we want to make sure our families are doing well. But it's been, I've been fortunate and blessed, but I always think about, you know, what my father had to do too, and starting, you know, sometimes getting his head beat in by the cops because they were protesting Gazasan, the way they were treating Latinos back in the 70s. And Reggie and Juanita and Tia Blanca know that too, they were there firsthand. But it's like, we can't ever forget that because those struggles make us fight harder and that we remember who we are. And I tell my daughters the story, they're like, Papi, they couldn't do that. I was like, yeah, they were doing it. And they were doing it often. But it's those struggles that you don't want our kids to forget as well. But it's, I think in business and what I talk about as well is that as Latinos, we need to create wealth. We need to talk about money more. Like we never talked about money, you know, when I was little because we didn't have any money. We're always just trying, how do we pay rent? How do we put food on the table? But the more we start talking about kind of different things for our kids, and even like I've got 5 graduation parties to go to today and 2 birthday parties, family birthday parties. Do for the kids parties, and I don't give them toys anymore. I used to give them like a Batman or a Spider, and they played with it for 5 minutes. But now it's like, here's 529 check, put it into your 529. And the kids are like, what's this? I don't want that. Yeah, but their parents know. But even with all the family events that we have, you could just kind of start thinking about how are we, instead of giving them a toy or something, give them something to invest. And my daughters, when they were little, they were always watching Disney. And I was like, I'm going to buy you girls shares of Disney so that you are part owners of it. Because you're paying and they're making money off of you. And that's something that they needed to know, that they're owner of this company of Disney. And they're buying into their products and buying all the dolls and watching the movies and everything else. But they're seeing the stock price go up, and that they know that they're involved in it. I think for the, whether it's here in Chicago or other parts of LA or Houston or New York or DC, most of whether it's administration or corporation, they don't look at Latinos as business owners or entrepreneurs. They look at us as just consumers, that they'll buy our products, but they don't do business with us. So we have to tell them and educate them that this is what we want from you. We want you to do business with us so that we can support our own community. We don't want you to necessarily we want you to keep giving donations to our community, but do business with us as well. And that's something that's really important. And as we do business, how do we help each other as Latinos? You know, there's an organization, New America Alliance, that I was a part of, and it was Latino CEOs from around the country. But we took our head of the organization and we sent her to Israel for 1 month. And we told her, you study business, study politics, philanthropy, education, politics on her, and come back and report to all of us that are on the board. So she came back, but one of the most stunning things that she came back with, she's like, Martin, the Jewish community will do business with each other Jews in their community, 13 times before that money ever leaves their community. And she compared it to our Latino community. We'll do it once and then it'll leave and it doesn't come back. But how much more powerful can we be when we are kind of helping and doing business with one another? And even that kind of, I chair the Chicago Planning Commission, and we develop all the projects and approve all the projects. So I had to get a little forceful to make sure that they're doing business with minority firms. They're like, I think they can't. And they tried to push me off for like 3 years. But finally I told the mayor, this previous mayor, it's like, if you don't pass this, I'm gonna pass it without you. And so we did, and he put an executive order out there, but it's 32% business has to be done with minority firms. And we passed Sterling Bay's $6 billion project. So if you think about it, just the $6 billion at 30%, even if they just do that's $1.8 billion. Wow. That's going to be out there that they have to do. Related on 78, which is part of the 25th Ward, that was a $7 billion project. They said they would do 40% on there. So that's $2.8 billion that's going to be out there that they have to do with minority and women-owned businesses. And those are great opportunities. But when we're in the positions that we're in, we have to take advantage that we're looking out for our people and our community. And all the other communities as well, the African American community, Asian community, and other women community too. But there's other folks looking out for their community, have an obligation to life. But those are the things that, you know, I've been blessed and I've been able to sit down with different presidents here in our country and, you know, in Mexico and prime ministers in Greece and tell them what we think. And sometimes they don't like that. But you have to be honest, like, this is what the Latino community thinks of you, Mr. President. And he's like, but I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing that. I was like, that's not enough. It's like, look, you worked your magic for healthcare. It's like, you need to work your magic for immigration. And, but even with this negative talk, like I said, I think Trump might be doing us a favor by all this negative talk about us, because it does make us more passionate, and our younger kids too, and our DACA students, you know, who aren't there, don't have a voice on there. But that's going to push us, make us work harder, make sure we're going to college and getting degrees, and that those younger Latinos that are coming up as well, and that we're going to get out there and vote too. But it's, you know, there's some times that I was going to give you just some examples of being rejected in business a lot too. And sometimes when I walk into a presentation, they're like, oh, this guy's Latino, it's just a Latino firm, so we got to do some set-asides. And then we'll do the work, and they're like, wow, you guys are really good. Like, they don't think it sounds offensive or insulting, but it's who we are. And one of the biggest